everybody, this is Caitlin here, aka Scribble Sketch, and welcome back to our next episode where we cover the spoilers for Force of Will in regards to the starter decks and the new cards coming out in New Dawn Rises once the set releases in September. And we are going to be covering the ones from Friday and Monday here, so we've got ourselves some darkness and some light. I was fairly surprised to see that instead of going to the other light starter deck on Monday, we instead went back to cover more runes and more cards related to Atom. I found that really interesting. I thought by now we would have covered the other starter decks or whatever, or the other rulers within the starter decks, but it looks like we're just getting lots of spoilers for the first 5, and I'm guessing maybe next week that we'll get the next set of rulers, because I was a little bit disappointed because I really wanted to find out more about Loki and Isis and the Ninja Cats and everything like that, but it looks like we're going to need to wait till a little bit longer before we get our first glimpse at those cards and whatnot. So starting off here, we have our Darkness Ruler Lucifer. He is a Darkness Ruler, obviously a Fallen Angel with a Divinity of 10. His Judgment is 5, so it's 2 Darkness and 3 Void, and it energized with Darkness. The leader of the Fallen Angels chose the depths of these ancient ruins as his home. He's looking pretty cool here. I'm loving the artwork here with the massive giant sword and chains and his huge wings and his armor on his shoulder pads and everything. He's looking pretty epic looking. And then when he flips over here, he becomes Lucifer, Fallen Angel of Sorrow. He's an 800 Fallen Angel still with a Divinity of 10. He comes with flying, and his enter ability here is that your opponent discards 3 cards. Again, I'm slightly disappointed a bit in him because I was like really hyped to see Lucifer, and I was like so excited to see what he was going to do. I knew he was going to have something to do with discard or something, or rather, all his cards relating to him would have something to do with discard or something similar to that effect. I'm just kind of disappointed on his enter ability. I feel like, and I don't know if this is just because Atom was the one who was shown first. I feel like maybe if Atom was shown last or near the end, I wouldn't feel as disappointed, but after seeing Atom with his several abilities when he flips compared to all these other rulers who only do one specific thing when they flip, it feels like a lot of these rulers are being a little bit jilted in terms of their abilities when they flip. I know that it's supposed to say that, oh, the runes are meant to help power up the rulers as opposed to giving them so many broken abilities when they flip over, or broken abilities on their front side. Well, if that's the case, why does Atom have several different effects as opposed to the majority of the rulers we've seen so far who only have one effect when they flip over to the J ruler side, essentially? I don't know, I feel like that's a little bit unfair, and it seems to be pushing more towards giving Atom more support, but I digress. As his tears fell, so did the last of his love. Again, I'm a bit disappointed about what Lucifer does on his flip side. It would have been cooler if maybe it was like your opponent discards all, like their entire hand or something like that, or at the end of each turn your opponent has to discard a card or something similar, like a continuous effect. It's just a shame that it's a one-time 3-card discard and that's about it. You could probably get better discard or hand removal just from other cards as opposed to flipping him, which is a bit of a shame, but the artwork does look pretty nice. He's looking pretty epic here in his pose. Next up, we have Fanatic of Grief, a 1-cost Darkness 400 human, not a Fallen Angel. When it enters, your opponent reveals their hand. When this card enters field from effect, obviously. Again, this is just like a bit of hand reveal or a little bit of hand control. That way you can get a glimpse into what your opponent has in their hand. But it doesn't make them discard it, which is a little bit of a bummer. So it's like for 1 cost, you get to like glimpse at their hand, and you get like a bit of a blocker, but you don't really get much else after that. Faith is always accompanied by madness. The artwork is kind of freaky, and this poor person looks like they are in so much pain. Next up, we have our vanilla creature for this deck. We have Lower Fallen Angel, a 1-cost 300 with flying. Not much else to say about it here. It is looking pretty cool. I also like the fact how this kind of Fallen Angel here has white wings as opposed to black, but the rest of the creature has like horns and everything and a very black feathery dress and everything. I quite like the design of it. It's a nice little contrast with like the white sky down to like the kind of darkish blue runes or whatever in the bottom. An army of grief blankets the sky, an ill omen for those below. So you better look out below there. Next up, we have Fluidity or Fluidity, I'm not quite sure how you're meant to pronounce that, but I think it's like Fluidity. It's a 2-cost Resonator, it is 2 Darkness, 500, a demon as opposed to a Fallen Angel. When it enters, you choose a number, your opponent reveals a card from their hand at random. If the revealed card's total cost is equal to the chosen number, they discard it. So this one is a little bit more trickier than your normal kind of hand removal and whatnot. You seem to have to be relying a bit on luck here and guessing cards. But I feel like the majority of, like, you'll probably hit at least one thing as long as you're not guessing too high. So even if you safely guess 1 or 2 in, like, opening hands and everything, they are more than likely going to have a 1-drop or a 2-drop in their hand. It's just whether or not they randomly pick it. The Rains of Rain Runes bore holes into one spirits. I wish they called this thing something different. Rain Runes just sounds so silly. I don't know why. I feel like they could have come up with like a better name than that. I guess it just does the job for them, but it's still a bit of a silly name. Next up we have Armoros, the Fallen Angel of Nullification. This one's a 3 cost, it's 2 Darkness and 1 Void, 800, comes with flying, and also has barrier from Chant and Ruin. Or not Rune rather, I'm saying my runes all over the place. Now I'm wondering whether this means that it only specifically gives barrier to chants that are also runes, or whether it is just all chants in general as well as runes. I feel like if it was just chant slash runes, it would be those ones that have the chant slash rune keyword, and because this one is got them in separate brackets, so that's why I'm thinking it is including chants, all chants like in your deck, as well as runes. So this is a bit of a tricky one here. I might need to like double check on the wording for this one, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's actually implying. One would do best not to carelessly approach. Of course, I'll do the same. So even Atom is wary of these fallen angels and demons. And then next up we have the beautiful SR for the starter deck. We have Shemhaza or Shemhaza, I'm not quite sure how you meant to pronounce that. The Fallen Angel of Sadism. She is looking pretty cool, I'm not going to lie there. I like her kind of sickles here for her weapons. She's a 4 cost, she's 2 Darkness and 2 Void, 1000, Fallen Angel with flying. When she enters the field, your opponent discards a card, and as long as your opponent has 2 or less cards in hand, this card gains 400. So this is like another way to try and like kind of coax you more into the discard strategy, because when she enters, she is 14 as long as your opponent has 2 or less cards. So you want to wreck your opponent's hand and make sure that they are never going to have hand advantage over you. For this card specifically, whether or not you run her or not is another thing, but I quite like her. She seems to be she seems to be the card that kind of encourages the hand dismissal mechanic for Lucifer, so definitely you would probably want to play her if that's the angle that you're going for. Now, offer your body and soul to me. Ooh, okay, it's a little bit spooky here. And now we're going to get into some of the cards for Lucifer from the set. So we have a rune here, a chant rune. Rain of Tears is a 1 cost quick cast with a divinity of 2. You pay 1 more to play this card from the rune area, so you have to pay an extra void. You put 3 minus 100 counters on target resonator. Pretty simple thing, it's like a debuff or whatever, but you need to be careful, obviously. Some things like having counters on them, and some things don't like having counters on them, so you want to figure out or whatever which way you want to play that. The rain weighs down on the soul. And then we have our addition for Lucifer here. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like a stupid tongue twister, so forgive me now. Runes of never-ending rain runes. Try and say that five times fast. You'll probably get fed up yourself. It's a 4 cost addition, so I think it's actually the most expensive addition for these starter deck rulers or whatever that we've seen. Non-darkness resonators gain -2/2, and darkness resonators gain +2/2. Now, since this is a blanket effect, essentially, if you are going up against another darkness deck, they are also getting the buff as well. So I would probably say this is more than likely a sideboard card. You maybe don't want to play this in main deck, obviously, because you don't know exactly what your opponent is going to play, whether they're a mono build or whether they've got some splashes of darkness in there as well, because this would obviously boost their darkness resonators as well. So if you're going against another Lucifer, heck, if you're going against Rhea or you're going against the Lich King, then this probably wouldn't help you out too much. The angels that were excommunicated with Satan continued to weep over this land. Those tears became rain, transforming this once holy sanctuary into ruins. Hence, Rain Ruins, the silliest kind of sanctuary name we have in this game. Next up we have Whispers of the Devil. This one's a 2 cost. It is 1 darkness, 1 void with a divinity of 2. Again, you have to pay 1 void extra to play this card from your rune area, so then it will be costing 3. Draw 2 cards, you lose 500 life. Again, this is kind of interesting. This is one is kind of like the opposite of the discard mechanic, where you are gaining more cards, but you are losing life as well. So this is kind of like the counterbalance of it. It's like, hey, you're going to have a bit more card advantage as opposed to your opponent, but you're going to have to pay the toll with it. So like a little smidgen of life here. Maybe if you splashed in some way of getting like life back, then maybe it would actually work out alright. You are fated to die one way or another. Ooh, spooky. And then we get the Magic Stone of Corruption. I have to say, I adored the artwork for this card. I am really not so keen on its effect though, because it, as normal, it taps and pushes darkness, but it has another ability where you tap and play 2 darkness and banish this card. Your opponent discards a card. You play this ability only during main timing. So main timing is anytime you can play a non-quick cast card. I don't really like this ability, save for mainly for the fact that you have to not only get rid of this card, you have to tap it and also pay 2 darkness, where with the same amount of, or like at least with 2 mana, you'd probably be able to play a discard spell of some kind. Heck, for 2 will itself, you'd be able to pay part of the 5 cost to flip Lucifer and get rid of 3 cards. So I really don't like the secondary ability. It would have been cooler if, like, you say, tapped and pay like 500 life and you make your opponent discard a card. That's a better way of, like, you know, having to do a toll for having this other effect here. I really don't like the effect, but I do like the card a lot. Satan desire to corrupt the pure. And who are the pure? The pure are probably the angels that we're now going to move on to for the ones for Monday. So we have a Bewilder here. It's just a normal rune. It's a quick cast rune actually, but it's not a chant. It's 1 cost, but it's got a divinity of 2. You rest target J/Resonator, so again, a lot more resting and whatnot. If you liked all those different auras from Rhea Cluster that did resting and recovering and everything, here's a bit more ammunition for the fire here. Hallucinations produce momentary confusion. So it looks like here, I think this is meant to be a fallen angel being bewildered by this angel here, by the looks of it. He's blindfolded. Next up we have Karmic Reversal, a 2 cost one, another quick cast one. It is 1 light, 1 void, divinity of 3. If damage would be dealt to target J/Resonator you control, is dealt to your opponent instead. This is going to be really sweet for those people who are playing like resonators that deal a heavy amount of damage when they enter. Like, say, I think one of them, is it the Ultra Star Dragon or something like that? He can deal a lot of damage if you're trying to cheat in resonators and everything, but then you can just use this card like, hey, you're going to take that 2000 is it 2000 attack? I think it is 2000 damage instead. That would be very, very deadly here. Also, since it's just a rune, you sadly can't play it in your main deck, so you won't be able to do this multiple times potentially, but it seems really interesting. Carelessness bears face just as one thinks they've won. This is to say, the best time to turn the tables is at the very last moment of the battle. Very, very nice. I also like how Atom seems very wise here, and he seems to be using a lot of like lightning or barriers and whatnot within his card art, so he seems to be a very interesting rabbit. Next up we have Mini Meteor. I like the name of this. It's actually kind of cool. It looks like the Atom is like summoned like a small planet or something like that, or like a little moon, and he's just going to make his own little meteor shower. It's kind of interesting. It's a 3 cost. It is 2 void. No, it's 2 light, sorry. 2 light and 1 void with a divinity of 3. It's just a rune. Rest all of J/Resonators your opponent controls. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to J/Resonators your opponent controls until end of turn. So that's a really interesting way of doing it. So like you're resting all your opponent's resonators, J/Resonators, so including their ruler if they've got the ruler out. But at the same time, it's like, hey, these J/Resonators can't take any damage. So that's like a bit of a weird trade-off here. It's like, surely you would want them to take damage if, like, say they're all rested. It would potentially mean that you wouldn't be able to pick off any of them if you were swinging in. You would have to go to for face if you wanted to do damage. Or you'd have to do things that outright just destroy them. They don't like deal damage to like their resonators. So that's a bit of a trade-off, which I find a little bit weird. How you're being impaled by meteors here, but you're not allowed to take any damage. I mean, all right, that's fine. What's wrong? This much isn't anything to be afraid of. I mean, they look afraid. I'm not quite sure what creatures they are down here at the bottom. They look like some kind of orc or kind of monster thing. I'm not too sure, but they don't look too happy here with the meteors. And then next up we have Turntail. It's another quick cast rune. It is 1 light with a divinity of 2. Return target resonator you control to its owner's hand. So now we're giving light a little bit of bounce power here. First lesson of Lunar Heaven Academy. How to run away. Very, very strange here. I'm not quite sure if Atom is being attacked here by this like floating purple ball, or whether he's kicking it or something, or trying to escape from it. The artwork is a little bit strange here because there seems to be some kind of explosion going on at the bottom. So maybe he's fighting someone. I would assume since it's darkness, it's either Lucifer himself or maybe the Lich King. I have no idea. But it seems to be a very interesting card. And then next up we have this this card with the greatest artwork I think of all time, with Zeus's angry face in the background. It's something called a Master Rune, so this is kind of a new kind of card type for us here. Zeus's Grand Lightning, a 2 cost rune with divinity of 2. It is a Master Rune, Play this card only if your J ruler is Atom Circuit or Atom Circuit the Shimmering Rabbit. So this one is specifically for Atom. So I'm guessing that each ruler is going to have a specific rune, this master rune that only they can play. Which is actually kind of interesting. Remove target non-magic stone, non-J ruler entity from the game. Players cannot chase to this card. So a bit of removal that your opponent basically can't stop, which is very, very curious. Also, it's kind of interesting how Atom is now wielding a lightning bolt, which obviously, since he is like the representative of Zeus, kind of interesting how he's picked up on that weapon as well, that Zeus is most commonly known for wielding. Don't resent me for this. I wonder who he's talking to here. Very, very bizarre. This is Grand Lightning. I like this card a lot. And then we've only got a couple of more cards to go through here before we finish off this video. So next up we have, for the set from the Valhalla, we have Aratron, Angel of Knowledge, a 1-cost Resonator. It's an angel, 1 light, 200/200 with flying. When she enters, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an Angel Resonator from among them and put it into your hand. Then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any random order. So this is again another push for you, like favouring angels over were-rabbits, I feel like, in your rabbit deck here, or rather in your Atom deck. Knowledge is the source of all power, so she's obviously a little bit of a search. I feel like every single ruler or every single kind of colour are going to get something that gives you some form of search, so that's a little bit fair. Next up, we have a familiar face here. We have Ayu, the Mysterious Wanderer. And I find it interesting how she's classed as a were-rabbit here, but she is lacking her ears and her tail. She just seems to be like a normal girl at this stage, because she's not got her bunny ears and her bunny tail. And I don't know whether this is said before she goes to like the Rhea Cluster world or after, because she's looking more kind-hearted here and she's looking a lot nicer. So I'm not quite sure what her deal is, whether she's going to play a part in this story as well, whether this card is set from before she left chasing after Ragnarok, or whether or not this is after and she's maybe lost Ragnarok's soul or something like that in here. She's a 2-cost Resonator. She's quick cast as well. She's 2 light for 600/600. You can tap her and return her to the owner's hand. And when she enters, you gain X amount of life, where X is the number of runes revealed from your rune area. So she seems to be pretty decent late game when you've got your runes revealed and whatnot. I guess you could technically play her early game and you could just keep her in the field and tap her and return her to the field whenever you want. I mean, she'd probably be good just to like quick cast it in and whatnot, and you know, get some use of it before you bounce her to your hand. But again, she seems to be more of a late game card. And at the bottom here it says, "Alright, another peaceful day. What was that just now? Just my imagination?" So I wonder if that's referring to her taking on souls, or if that's referring to maybe feeling something here. But it's kind of strange how we're seeing a character from a previous cluster so soon. Like, obviously Atom, we already knew he was going to be in this set. But it's kind of interesting how Ayu was introduced in Rhea cluster. She seems to be from the Valhalla world, but we're seeing her in maybe her original state before she took on the souls of all the different animals. I'm not too sure here, but she seems to be a very interesting card. And then next up here, we have Haggith, the Angel of Alchemy. She's a 4-cost, she's 2 light and 2 void, 700/900 angel with flying. Obviously, I'd be worried if the angels didn't fly. When she enters, you search your deck for an addition, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So you could probably use that to search for the addition that beefs up or boosts the angels themselves. Will this help? I'm not too sure if it will help, but you have got some crazy kind of ornaments going on in your head there. I don't know how your head hasn't fallen off your shoulders and whatnot from just how heavy that armor it looks like. It looks like some kind of weird laurel / crown, or maybe that's her hair style into that. It looks very bizarre. And then finally we have Ophiel, I'm not quite sure you pronounce it, but this is an SR, Angel of Guidance. It's a 5-cost, it is 2 light and 3 void, a 1200/1200 flying. When she enters, you search your deck for an angel that is not named Ophiel, the Angel of Guidance, with a total cost X or less, where X is the number of light runes revealed from your rune area, and put it into the field, then shuffle your deck. So this is kind of like a vanilla, or kind of like a different interpretation of Celestial Wing Seraph. I imagine that this will probably be very handy if you want to play Angels and Wanderer, because you get access to not only Seraph, who is also another 5-cost, but you can also get access to different things. Obviously, you'd have to be playing a ruler that specifically caters to runes and whatnot, so you'd either have to play Atom or the Valkyrie one. But I think she's pretty interesting. She's definitely, like, again, pushing for Atom to play angels over were-rabbits. Ophiel's commands are carried to each and every corner of lunar heaven. She seems a pretty intense, not gonna lie. I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alleyway, and certainly with those uh, massive wings and the big old sword that she seems to be wielding here. But anyway, guys, that has been our spoilers for Darkness and Light. I will be following this up probably with the spoilers for, I believe it is Fire and Water are next up, if I believe correctly. So I'll be probably following up with those pretty soon. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know what you were thinking about Lucifer and the extra support for Atom. Do you think Atom should use were-rabbits or angels? I'm still not, like, I feel like I'm leaning towards angels for Atom, because I feel like the were-rabbits alone aren't enough for him. But let me know in the down below what you think about these cards, and I will see all you guys next time. This video was made possible thanks to patrons such as Alucard, Craig McCutcheon, and the Carnivalous Waltz.